I'm hopeful, and I will try with best I can with everything I've got to end this battle and to return our sons to their desires.
Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right.
Our union can be perfected. And what we've already achieved gives us hope for what we can and must achieve tomorrow.
Less than 30% of the audience were male. How can we affect change in the world when only half of it is invited? Men don't have the benefits of equality. If we stop defining each other by what we are not and start defining ourselves by who we are, we can all be freer.
The thing that sticks with me the most is that he was apologizing to me for crying in front of me. And at the same time, he was also giving me props, lifting me up for not crying. Look at this as this fear that we have as men, this fear that just have us paralyzed, holding us hostage to this man box.
We live in this world where men are constantly being discriminated against. Men are expected to fit this stereotypical prototype with how we look, how we act, and who we should become. Everyone seems to find it completely normal to verbally critique and attack men. If we don't leave the house looking our best, we aren't taken seriously. And yet, if we leave the house looking too good, we're catcalled by women on the streets. Women are constantly being promoted over men. They're being paid more, and they only have to birth babies and never take care of them. Women get away with a lot when it comes to men, but perhaps one of the worst things that they get away with is rape. Imagine this scenario. You're at a party. You've had a little too much to drink. It's happened to all of us. And then, you wake up. You don't know where you are or what you did. You're dazed and you're confused. You look down and your body is bruised, your head hurts. You look to the side, and next to you is this girl that you don't know, or you don't remember. If the scenario sounds familiar, then you've probably been raped. It's time we took a closer look at how this can be prevented.
My name is Charlene Marla. I'm a professor at the University of Stanford, and most of the courses that I teach during the year have to do with the victim's perspective and empathizing with the predator.
So, how does that help the victim?
We focus on what men are targeted and why they're targeted and how they can change their lives to protect themselves from women.
So let me just get this straight. You focus on preventing rape by blaming the victim, rather than examining society's inherent flaws and gender stereotyping issues.
No. It's not that. I'm never going to blame the victim. It's just that these young men need to know there are ways around being attacked.
So it's the responsibility of the men to not be raped.
Precisely. They constantly need to be aware of how they're presenting themselves. For example, if a man is too nice, it can actually come across as flirting, and a woman will jump on that opportunity.
So you're telling me, as a man who would like to not be raped, to change the way that I talk to women?
No, you're misinterpreting me. Of course a man can be nice to a woman. There are other things you can do, other than just not being nice. Here, if you're walking home late, you don't want to walk alone. Maybe get a group of girls together who you trust that can walk with you. Another technique is just not to drink so much. It doesn't mean that guys can't have fun, but come on, you have to be smart. You have to protect yourselves. Because rape will happen, and if you're not ready for it, you'll be the next victim. And there's no going back from that.
So, Stanley, can you tell me a little bit about the night at the Rho Sigma Gamma sorority house?
Well, I'm a freshman here, so it was my first party. I didn't really drink in high school, so it was my first real experience with alcohol.
Yeah.
And the girls were really nice at first, but they got kind of pushy after a while.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing I remember, I was playing Slap Cup, I think. It was Stack Cup, maybe.
Stack Cup. Yeah.
Yeah, I was really bad at the game. It was my first time ever playing it, so I got really drunk and.
That's the nature of the game, right? It happens, unfortunately. I mean, it's safe to assume that you pretty much didn't have control over your body, much less your decisions that you were making, right?
Definitely. I didn't understand my limits with alcohol, and the girls kept giving me beers to shotgun.
What exactly
can you remember, to the best of your ability, happened that night?
Well, I only remember bits and pieces of it, but I remember feeling super nauseous, like I was about to throw up. And then she led me upstairs, and I thought she was gonna help me. And she ended up leading me into a room, and then threw me onto a bed. And the last thing I remember before I blacked out was her on top of me.
I just want to get one thing clear before we start this thing. I didn't do anything to that boy that he didn't ask me to do.
That's a fair comment. How do you want to defend yourself?
Look, I'm not defending myself. I'm just telling the truth. Every action that night that was committed was completely consensual. That boy drank as much as he was comfortable with. No one forced him. He followed me upstairs. I didn't drag him. I only agreed to be a part of this segment because if I wasn't, I feared that my story would be tainted by that boy's lies. Look, yeah, fine. We had sex. He was practically begging for it. That boy came over to me, started dancing on me, started talking all cute with me. I didn't ask him to flirt with me. Now he's just looking for someone to blame because he feels guilty, and I'm not gonna be that person. I gave that boy the night of his life. Yeah, he really should just take responsibility, you know? So sick of this happening. I hear about it all the time. Just don't understand these boys and their problems. Just don't get it.
I think the worst part about it was that I was still a virgin.
Wow.
And
Wow.
just that I would never have asked her for sex, ever. And I would wanted it to be in the right situation with someone that I really love.
You know, he never really explicitly said no to me or anything. Just sort of nodded and went along with it. I don't know what this fuss is because even in the middle of it, it's not like he said no. If anything, he was saying yes. I heard a please escape his lips.
Oh, he was a virgin? That makes sense. It's a classic case of a victim lashing out.
You think he's trying to find someone else to blame?
Exactly. He doesn't want to take responsibility for making a mistake, so he's just finding someone else to blame.
It's just a shame I'll never get that night back.
So, how have you been coping over the past 2 months with all the publicity and all that?
Well, my friends look at me differently now, and my classmates look at me differently. And I don't know, part of me just wants to move away and get on with my life.
It's understandable.
Stanley ended up doing exactly that. During the pre-trials, he was ridiculed for his state of mind that night and for his inability to remember facts about Judith. The case was ruled a mistrial. Meanwhile, Judith is applying for law schools, and Stanley moved to the East Coast to finish up his last year at a different university. It's a fucked up world we live in.